Moises Cisneros standing in today for the originally announced Cesar Arenas, who seems to be needed in Bologna instead of Anaheim. Moises' full bio is on your table nearby. He will be talking about the Small Business Development CITD, being the Center's International Trade Development Program, which provides technical assistance and training in international trade to small and medium-sized companies throughout Southern California. And this organization has contributed over $75 million in trade transactions. Moises has 15 years of professional experience in international trade and economic development and has been with the Santa Monica Small Business Development Center since 2011. Moises.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today. I'm learning a lot, not only from my peers up here in the panel. There's always new things, new information, but really feel inspired when I'm speaking with the likes of you out there. It's just really awesome to see that your energy is high and your hopes are really positive. And that's really inspiring for me. And that's why I do what I do. And I see that I have an hour on the clock, so that's great. I'll shorten it just to 50 minutes if that's okay. No, I'll make sure that you're all awake. That was good. My name is Moises Cisneros, and as Pat mentioned, I'm actually here representing Cesar with the Center for International Trade Development. And I think he asked me because I've used a lot of the CITD services as well as the U.S. Department of Commerce services as I have been counseling my clients for the last 15 years. So I'll talk a little bit about how helping those clients go overseas is really why I'm here. But before I do that, I want to share a personal story. I was a really bad high school student, and I barely graduated high school, and I ended up going to a community college in my neighborhood. My neighborhood is East LA. It's a pretty blighted, or back then it was a pretty blighted community. Not a lot of opportunities, not a lot of opportunities for progression. While attending East LA Community College, I met Dr. Locke Grant. And Dr. Locke Grant really had a passion for connecting with his students. And I was fortunate enough to do really well in his class and ended up opening up a world that I didn't know existed before. You know, he took several students sailing, many of us for the first time. He introduced me to National Public Radio and KCRW, which opened up my life even more. Needless to say, that changed my life. I ended up transferring to USC, when I ended up majoring in international relations there. And in 2010, I went back to USC and I got my master's in leadership and change management. And I can pinpoint the moment when my life, there was like a major pivot and my life changed. I could have gone one route, which, you know, with the vision and hard work of my parents was just to graduate high school. That's it. And maybe gangs later on, or this new route that I took. And I was forever, you know, appreciative of that. So how many of you can think of a person in your life that took interest in you and was really instrumental in changing your outlook? If you can picture that person in your mind, if you have that person in your mind, yeah, raise your hand. Awesome. I tell that story because that's how I feel when I'm in front of clients. I feel that not only myself, but the team that we have put together really connect with our clients, and we really have a passion for helping them see aspects that they never even knew existed. You know, we don't know what we don't know. And in business, that's critical. That's absolutely super important. So that leads me to let you know that the Small Business Development Center is a government organization that's majority funded by the Small Business Administration. The Small Business Administration is a federal agency, as has been noted by my colleagues. Currently, we have a new secretary for the Small Business Administration, Maria Contreras Sweet. Amazing, powerful woman. If you haven't met her, she's actually an Angelino. She's now moving to DC to head the SBA, and she also has a really amazing story. I really highly recommend you looking up at her profile. I think we're going to see some amazing things come out of her office in the next couple of years as she oversees all domestic economic development programs for the federal government. It's a very crucial, important position. How many of you would consider yourselves small businesses? Raise your hand. Small businesses, awesome. And Marian mentioned that the SBA's definition of a small business is, depending on your industry, between 100 employees and 500 employees. So that's within the realm of the kind of clients that we work with as the Small Business Development Center. The Small Business Development Center operates within the purview of the Small Business Administration. The Small Business Development Centers have 350 what we call lead centers throughout the United States. So if you're like very close to a major metropolitan area, more than likely you'll have at least 2 Small Business Development Centers in that location. We have 3,500 consultants, and we have a super small budget of $110 million a year to operate all these things. We're able to survive because we partner with private and public agencies. Most of our offices are housed at your local community college. So in my case, I'm actually housed at the Santa Monica Small Business Development Center's offices at the Santa Monica Community College. I'm sort of a rarity because I have a satellite office at City Hall in Los Angeles, and that's really important because a lot of SBDCs also have very close ties to your local government, and that's important when you're a business and you either have issues with the Office of Finance when you're paying your city taxes, for example, or you're looking to grow and you need assistance through maybe a permitting process or whatnot. A lot of times our local government is highly bureaucratic, and so you need some kind of liaison or someone really that understands both the private sector side as well as the inner workings of government. And so that's the role that I play as well. My expertise is in international trade, but I'm also a generalist. So one key aspect is that all of our Small Business Development Centers consulting is at no cost to you. So there is a limit, obviously. We actually work very closely with other consultants to ensure that that you're well prepared. For example, we have an attorney on our team. He is a small business attorney. He is awesome at getting you prepared to have a conversation around what kind of business entity should you be filing for, depending on your goals. Should you be a limited liability corporation and a limited liability partnership? What's the difference between a C Corp and S Corp? Should you just stay a sole proprietor and avoid all this mumbo jumbo? So it's like he can connect the dots for you and get you prepared to have a really productive conversation with a lawyer. So we bring you up to a level where you can then really take off really quickly with another paid professional. Most of our initial consulting with one company will run about a total of 10 hours. We also put on a lot of workshops in the local area. So the workshops vary everything from accounting principles to marketing, social media, and in my case, I put on our import and exporting workshops as well. The Center for International Trade and Development, so like our sister organization that does and operates much like us, but only focuses on international trade, also does specific trade missions overseas or participates in exhibitions overseas. In fact, so that's why Cesar isn't here today, because he's on one of these trips taking California companies overseas to a beauty exhibition. And I told him that. I was like, oh God, oh, woe is me, right? But I get it, because I've taken hundreds of companies overseas on these trips, and it's exhausting work. I mean, it's not at all what most people think it is. It is very gratifying, but at the same time, it's a lot of work for sure. So just as a quick example of how we operate, so when I say, by the way, we see my office, the office of the Small Business Development Center in Santa Monica, sees 150 clients per month. And when I say we see, I'm not talking about workshops. I'm talking about one-on-one. We sit down with you for at least an hour and review your business plan. We review your marketing strategy. We'll get really down into your back office operations. And that's a huge, huge important thing while you're looking at, while you're really involved in your product and loving, providing a quality service. A lot of what I've seen that a lot of CEOs do is that they let go of back office operations. And so it's really my job, our job, to ensure that there's a balance there. So a client comes in and he'll meet with someone like myself, which is what we call an initial business advisor. And I'm supposed to be connected to all the other 10 or so experts on our team who have a minimum of 15 years experience in their niche field. Whether it's legal, whether it's marketing, where we have a former banker on our team who was a banker for 25 years. Now he's advising our clients on how to package their loans to get that capital infusion that they need to export, or just to grow domestically. So the beauty about about this is that you're always going to have someone holding your hand, and that is well aware of who you're being referred out to, and is also well aware of your whole trajectory. Yeah, so that's enough. So just a quick sampling of our team here in Santa Monica. And this team is assembled based on the needs of our local community. So if you go to the SBDC in Fresno or Bakersfield, for example, you'll see a whole lot of experts in the agricultural industry, or in New York in fashion. So for us, or for all offices, they mirror the community that they are based in. So in our case, a lot of tech startups, a lot of creative companies is what is in our backyard. So we have a lot of creative and tech related experts on our staff. How many of you are in the Southern California area, just by show of hands? Okay, awesome, great. Some success stories, and so we see them all. From manufacturing to a lot of service providers to mom and pop shops. And it's just equally satisfying to work with all of them. So just some examples of, there's a lot of, everything from how do I start a business? Should I invest my money into just one area, or should I franchise? And it's all these initial questions that we will deal with. And also when you're growing and when you're scaling your business. I was talking to somebody out in the hallway, and they were talking about how they're going to go from 1 million to 6 million. And the question is, well, how do you survive when you have to kind of, expand and contract, and that's your life, business cycle. It's always expanding and contracting. How is that going to affect your HR, your human resources aspect? So we definitely can see that happening. We'll work with you to create a plan and to put it into a living document that you understand that there are milestones to it, and will actually make it more satisfying when you know that in 2 or 3 months I have to be here. And if you don't hit that mark, well, then you have to pivot and change. So just more success stories. Last year, we helped, total in the nation, we helped 1 million entrepreneurs expand their businesses. This is one quick thing that I do want to mention, and it's really important. It's about the culture at the small business development centers. And it ties back to my initial story. What I really love about what we do is that we act like as a sounding board to your ideas. So we get phone calls at all hours of the day and night, and it's from entrepreneurs who are calling and say, I'm at this trade show or I'm at this conference and I got this idea. What do you think about it? And it's really cool to have this trust. Number one, all of our consultants sign non-disclosure agreements. All of our conversations are absolutely confidential. What we do is aggregate numbers and send those numbers up to the federal government, and those numbers never tie back to any one company or person. So you know that like what you're telling me is absolutely in confidentiality. It's not going to go anywhere. And so that's a little different. I mean, I've had clients come to me, and normally they share their strategies, and that's a good thing, with their team, of course. But sometimes it's very sensitive, and you actually need a third party that's neutral that could give you honest, quick feedback. And we do that, and I love that part of it. Another piece that I love about it is we're not, the culture is that we don't necessarily tell you specifically what you need to do. We just put up information and options and tools and guide you through your own process so that you make, obviously, your own decision. But really important to that is once you make that decision, we plan it out and then keep you accountable to the steps that you need to make to get you there. So it's like you have this witness to your intentions. And that I've seen is magic. It's really powerful when you intend something, you put it in writing or somehow some kind of visual aid, and someone's going to be there emailing you or calling you saying, hey, did it happen? And if not, why not? What are you going to do about it? I mentioned keeping confidentiality already, and ultimately, it's really, to us, it's that being that Dr. Locke Grant. It's being the guide, the mentor to you. So I was asked to just touch really briefly on international trade, and initially I was going to go over a lot of slides, but my colleagues already did most of it. I just wanted to really encourage you, those of you that are not in it or that are still questioning the risk. That's a good thing. Definitely want to do that, but also just realize that 95% of the world's population is outside the U.S. and 2/3 of the world's purchasing power is also outside the U.S. And with AECOM's amazing presentation earlier, you can see that you'd be missing out if you overlook the global market. I've used the Gold Key service a lot, and it's been amazing. It's crazy that more people aren't taking advantage of what the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service is offering through their embassies and through the local experts here. One thing that I'm not sure if was mentioned was a really simple free document that's called the Country Commercial Guide. Maybe you did mention it. I want to mention it again. The U.S. Country Commercial Guide is something you want to look into. When every year, especially the larger, more important countries like China, et cetera, there's a full report done on trends and contacts, important figures that are economic in nature that impact your business when you're doing business in that country. And it's absolutely free. And I've actually seen consultants take that work and semi-plagiarize it and sell it off for thousands of dollars. And it's readily available for you at no cost, thanks to our taxpayer money going to the U.S. Department of Commerce. Okay. So I want to just touch on the three major aspects when you're doing international trade. You know, you want to make sure that you're not the lone wolf. I think if you get anything out of this panel, it's that you don't want to be the lone wolf. You don't have to do everything yourself. You have a passion, you know your product, you want to deliver high quality service. You don't have to figure out all these other things on your own. You have people to do that, and if you can't afford someone, and that's why you think you're not going to do it, you're going to do it yourself, then you're going down the wrong path, because there's services available by your local, state, and federal government to help you with that process. And the three amigos here that you should really, any company should be looking into, especially if they have a product or if they are touching a product. First is your freight forwarder and customs broker. I know a lot of you are creatives, so you might not have to deal with the first one so much, but definitely understand what their role is, what role they play, because when you do want to send a sample and you're having to clear customs and you're trying to scramble to find the right freight forwarder or customs broker to do that for you, you don't want to wait to the last minute to have a relationship in place. And then the second, and I think you all already know this, is have a relationship with your attorney who has offices overseas, who understands that local market. Okay, not just someone based here. Okay, and same thing goes with your bank. They have to have a branch or actual offices in the market that you want to penetrate. And I think out of all these three, your most important relationship is going to be with the bank. And it's probably the same whether you're international or you're just domestic. Really, the bank is like the lifeblood of your business. So you want to have a really good relationship with them. You want to understand what kind of tools they have, what kind of familiarity they have with the market that you're trying to export to. And it's not uncommon to have different banks for different markets. Again, don't do it alone. So just want to make sure that you understand that the Exim Bank and other agencies that are guaranteeing the loan, right? They're not providing you the loan itself. They're guaranteeing it or providing insurance for it. You still have to have these banking relationships, and bankers are absolutely critical to the success of your business overseas. They will make or break your business with all these different kinds of tools that they have that enable you to provide better terms. The SBA guarantee is very similar to what Marianne mentioned. In fact, Marianne offers through the SBA bank a guarantee that allows basically for you to get payment even though the client overseas defaults. I think Marianne, yeah, I think it's different. Is it different or? The SBA has a similar program called the Export Express Capital Loan Guarantee Program, and I don't have all the details of that right now, but I'm happy to provide you with a more detailed program on how that could help your business. Okay.
Okay. That's a loan that can go up to $500,000. It goes through a bank that participates with SBA, and it's a low documentation loan. And it really can be used, their Export Express can be used for anything international, even traveling overseas. So it's a very good product that they have, worth looking into.
Awesome, thanks. So one thing the two things that I think that I perceive as being real challenges to companies are cash flow issues. Cash flow issues are like, I've seen more deaths in cash flow than anything else. The second biggest challenge is scalability, being able to handle the growth that comes with doing business. And I've listed a couple of issues here that come along with that. But I'm gonna focus on the marketing aspect of it. When you're going overseas, you really want to be conscious of whether you're able to grow and whether you have the right partners in that market to help you. So it's there's a lot of minefields out there. There's a lot of pitfalls that you may want to make sure that you're avoiding. Especially even large companies, large corporations will fall into these traps. So just imagine if you're a small company and you're just going out there without a local guide, then you're really in for some either being really lucky if you survive it or some really dreadful experiences. And I want to just kind of quickly show some examples of what not to do. And they're kind of funny. So let's say one major ballpoint pen manufacturer, these are all slogans that they're coming up with, and they went out and went into Latin America, and they mentioned their new slogan was that it won't leak in your pocket and get you pregnant. Coors, a big name company, I don't know if you remember, their slogan was "Turn it loose," right? And so it translated really poorly when in the language that they were going to enter, and it was "Suffer from diarrhea," right? An international airline was launching its VIP first class service, and they wanted their slogan was "Fly in leather." And that translated to "Fly naked." It's a great party, but Pepsi brings you back to life. Remember that one? That was in China. Pepsi brings your ancestors back to life. And in the U.S., when it's not only when we go out overseas, it's also when companies come to the U.S. and they intend to enter our market. A vacuum manufacturer came in and created a slogan called something about, nothing sucks like an Electrolux. And they were actually really proud because it rhymed. All right, so I just want to leave you with this idea. And I thought about like what kind of image can I leave you, because I feel theme parks and I was guessing that there might be some engineers here. I don't know. Anyone with an engineering background? Okay, awesome. So this is these like the fulcrum back in the day, teeter-totters. What I want to pose to you is if you put all of your efforts and all of your energy into moving this bar, that's your goal, to move it, and you put all of your energies into that spot right there, you're not really going to get a whole lot of movement. Now, if you put half as much energy somewhere else, but it's the right location, it's the right place, you're going to see some movement. Now, that's what I want to make sure that you get, that being smart about where you spend your energy is critical to your success. And these people up here and others, this organization and others that are here to help you with that is doing just that, is being smart, not doing it alone. And then finally, can you imagine if you actually worked on putting it there, right? Like not only just moving it over a little bit, but like putting it in that one sweet spot That's where the super success lies. And people have access to knowing where that location is. And it's just about you reaching out to finding that perfect advisor or that mentor to help you through that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, questions? Linda?
So I want to open it up to everybody here. We have a panel of 3 amazing experts. What are the questions that you have for them? Or do you all want to speak with them privately?
I got you.
So they've been very thorough.
Yeah, I think that the reality is that the information the 3 of you presented literally transforms people's thinking about business. Please.
So you had mentioned scalability. So it's an interesting concept because all of us deal with scalability. Some of the companies here are 5 people, some are 25 people, and some are 120 and more. Now, our industry has kind of a boom and bust cycle, as you've heard about today. And you talk about some of those assets and derivatives, particularly in the last conversation. How do you kind of address that scalability when you think about it? A lot of people think of scalability as an expansion. And then that scalability, planning for that if it's a reduction, because our industry can't necessarily support, or each company can't support 120 people in a long-term endeavor. How do you look at that when you think about that scalability and that reference point as you offer that insight?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we look at is giving you those options and how those options will affect your taxes. So we would get our attorney and our operations expert in a room with you and go over and our HR expert to go over the difference whether you should just do contract work out, whether it makes sense to only do part-time, or whether you should commit to full-time work, and what are the results. And we have amazing software that kind of lays out the results and how it impacts your taxes depending on the kind of a business entity that you have. And it'll go 1 year, 3 years and 5 years. And so it's a really well worth activity to embark. But yeah, it's a tough situation that you're in, because a lot of it is just based on future projects, and it's hard to forecast that until it's there. So there's a lot of forecasting models that we have to address that issue.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I have an XM banking question. Over the years, I've always been intrigued by it, thought it was a great program, never used it because of some impediment one way or the other, some rule or time frame. I'm told that the time frame has been reduced. But let's say I've never done an XM bank program before. I need $2 million. We're in the middle of negotiations. If I don't get this $2 million or an arrangement to guarantee the deal is gone, how long does it take to get approval or disapproval of an XM bank application?
This would be, I take it, for financing, for,
Yeah, it would be to
work-
finance a project that was overseas.
okay.
And it wouldn't be for them. We looked at the possibility of you lending the buyer money, and that's always pretty difficult. Send me your financial information and we'll see if we can get you financed. That never worked. But the idea of getting support, for instance, on working capital in particular, when a client requires, if he's going to put money down, that you in turn have to put down letters of credit as collateral,
Okay,
then it becomes very difficult to both finance the working capital and
gotcha,
support the credit.
gotcha.
So the question is really time frame. How long does it take to get XM banking approved?
Well, the key to the situation that you're mentioning is really to be working with a good lender that is a delegated authority lender with Exim Bank. And just from what you mentioned about this would be a contract, that tells me that it could fit under our transaction specific line, possibly. And if you're working with a delegated authority lender, the time frame really depends on the lender actually approving the line. Because with our delegated authority program, that's another benefit to this program. It doesn't have to go to Ex-Im Bank for approval as long as the company meets the requirements and it's done by a delegated authority lender. They can approve it in their process, whatever that is, and then notify Ex-Im Bank after the fact. And then the other thing that I want to mention is if you're getting an advance payment, which is going to require some type of guarantee from your customer, then the working capital guarantee program can be ideal for that, because with our working capital guarantee program, that program will allow a standby LC to be issued to the buyer, and instead of the whole amount held in reserve, only 25%. And then in some cases it can go down to 10%, which frees up 90% of that money for the exporter to use. So that would be a very good fit for the working capital guarantee program. And if you're negotiating with on these type of contracts, the best thing to do would be to be already working with a delegated authority lender, rather than to come to them, when you're, close to signing the contract.
I actually have two short questions. The first from Moises. Could you explain the relationship between the SBDC offerings for counseling and SCORE, since I know SCORE is also part of SBA? And then the second question might be for any of you. If a company has achieved individual, say, project success in a particular region, in their national region, and they want to make the leap of having a more full-time presence there, how important do you feel that a local partner is? Is it an absolute must?
All right, so I'll answer your first question. Yes, SCORE, if it's a team of retired professionals who offer free mentoring and advice, and they're a sister organization of ours. And we actually use them to funnel clients who really aren't ready to really benefit from the time with our consultants. So we'll send them back to SCORE. SCORE will actually help them with better clarify some ideas that they might not have real clarity on. And a lot of times the culture of SCORE is a little bit different. So I think for SCORE, we would also refer a lot of like manufacturing type of companies or people who are going to get into manufacturing. Versus the SBDC, we tend not to work with companies, or not companies, but individuals who still haven't made up their mind as to what product or service they're going to be delivering. A very early stage, yes. So early stage for SCORE, not so. Next stage would be with us. And then obviously we work closely with our partners, especially the Department of Commerce. We go back and forth with and prepare our clients to then take advantage of their services. And so your last question, and I'm sure we'll chime in. I think it's again with those couple slides that I put up, it's absolutely critical that you find a partner, a local partner, and not only just because your product will be better, but it'll also mitigate the chances or the risk of you being sued from different parties. Always you want to have a local partner that really minimizes that chance drastically.
I would agree. Can you hear me? It's almost always the best way to go unless you have the financial and the human capital resource within your company to actually sustain yourself overseas and have that in-country expertise already in-house. So I would say that almost always, if you're a small business and particularly, it's imperative to your success to establish those in-country relationships and partners. And those are what a lot of our services actually speak directly to, from everything from finding the right partners for you by working with you on some of these services to vetting those potential partners and then expanding into other regions within the country.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause for these fabulous representatives. Thank you very much.